Hi, I'm Damien, and today I'm talking about marketing yourself for promotion. And a fundamental principle is that you don't get promoted based on your skills and abilities. Rather, you get promoted based on other people's perceptions of your skills and abilities. Now, even though most people believe that, they still struggle to market themselves, to be promoted, because they believe it's important, other people's perceptions of them, but they just don't know how to influence other people's perceptions. So everyone is in an individual situation, and a lot of what they should do is very specific to that individual situation. However, there is certain rules and examples that generally will help you out. And one of those really important rules is you've got to put yourself forward. It's really important for marketing yourself, for being promoted in some sort of a hierarchy, some sort of an organization, some sort of group, being promoted, putting yourself forward. And now, what do I mean by that? A good example is something that happened recently in my life. I'm in Thailand teaching at a high school, teaching English. And I'm working with this Canadian teacher. And anyway, so we work for this company, quite a large company. And they put out an email saying that they're going to internally promote someone from within the company to a curriculum development position. And so all us English teachers can apply for this curriculum development position. And I was quite interested in it, and I said, guy, this Canadian who's working with me, hey, I wouldn't mind getting that position. I said, but there's no way they're going to consider me because I've only been in this company less than 2 months. And then he said, yeah, but you definitely should apply to let them know that you're keen. And that's really true. And that's an example of putting yourself forward. It's about being considered. Being considered, that's the opposite of being overlooked. And so many people are overlooked. And partly, a really common reason for why they're overlooked, or part of the reason, is that they didn't put themselves forward. So in a situation like my example, where I have to submit a resume, that's a very sort of obvious example of putting myself forward. But sometimes it's not that obvious. Sometimes it's just about making a comment to someone, or a series of comments, or like doing something that makes people consider you. So just looking at the position, the curriculum development position in this big company in Thailand, just imagine how that might play out, right? So I submit my resume, and they have a whole bunch of resumes of other teachers. So I'll come across mine, and they'll probably say something like, oh, Damien, who's that? Isn't he that guy that's working up in Isan? And they'll be like, oh yeah, that guy. What, hasn't he only been here like 2 months? Why would we think of him? And they're like, well, maybe he thinks he's got a good curriculum development history, and so that's why he's put himself forward. And they might be like, oh yeah, maybe he has. Maybe he's done a lot of curriculum development in the past. And then maybe that takes them to the second page of the resume. And they're looking through to see what's this guy's experience on curriculum development. And even if it's a heap, there's a lot of experience there, they're probably still going to be like, yeah, he has done a lot. Yeah, I can see why he'd want a position like this. But he really just hasn't been here long enough. Maybe if he sticks around in the future, we might give him the position. He might be a candidate. And then they put my resume aside. And that might sound like, hey, I didn't get the job, it's all bad. But absolutely, it's not all bad, because I've made myself considered. I've framed myself as someone who maybe in the future would be good for a curriculum development role. And if I did stick with the company for a year or so, and in these particular types of countries, working in foreign nations, a lot of it's very transient. People come and go, and so in a year, they might need another curriculum development guy. And absolutely, if they see my resume come up again, they'll be like, "Hey, it's Damien. I remember him having all that experience in the past. Yeah, and he's been here with us for quite a while now." Because a year is probably quite a while when you're working overseas. Like, you've framed yourself and you've made yourself considered. You've taken a step forward just by putting yourself forward, by putting your hand up, by throwing your hat in the ring. So being considered, really, really important step for that promotion. And it's actually really hot here in Thailand. I just gotta wipe some sweat off. Yeah, so another example, because it's not always like submit a resume, which is somewhat more straightforward and obvious example of putting yourself forward. Another example is like when I was at this martial arts club, and I've been at plenty of martial arts clubs, probably over the last 2 decades. And I've seen many different promoting up the ranks of these martial art clubs, get different coloured belts, different coloured singlets, different rankings, all this type of stuff, allowed to be an instructor, all these different promotions and this different hierarchies. I realised that, well, firstly, I was pretty bad at, I was overlooked a lot, let's put it that way, based on my skills and abilities. And though towards the end, I was at this particular martial arts club and I had this experience which was a very good example of just how to put myself forward. So basically they said, one class, they said, anyone that's doing the grading, make sure you come on Saturday. We've got extra class going on Saturday to prepare the guys for grading. And so grading is where it's like an exam for promotion. So that happens on one event, one day, you get graded. And based on your performance at the grading, maybe you'll get promoted. Now, I didn't know whether I was going for a grading or not, because I hadn't heard an announcement about that before. So maybe I just wasn't there when they announced it. Maybe I'd taken 2 weeks off or something, whatever. There was some reason why I hadn't heard about it before, and so I didn't know whether I was up for grading or not. But I realized that this was one of those moments where I had to put myself forward. And I also realized that it didn't matter whether or not they were considering me for grading. And maybe that's why I didn't know. Maybe they walked up to everyone they were considering for grading and said, hey, you should go to the next grading. We think you're ready. Maybe they did. I was fully aware that they might just not have felt that might not have considered me at that point in time. But I realized that right now, in my uncertainty about whether I am graded or not, this was a chance to put myself forward and make myself more of a candidate for future gradings and possibly getting on this grading. And so after class, I walk up to the 2 coaches and I said, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to go to this grading or not. And I don't think I said it like that, because even that sounds a bit uncertain. It sounds like you don't even believe in yourself, this grading or not. I think I was much more certain about it. I said, am I going to the grading? No, should I come on Saturday to prepare for the grading? I think I said it somewhat like that, even with that sort of assumption that I would be grading. Yeah. And so I bring it to him with this confidence. Hey, should I be going to the grading? Should I be coming Saturday? I said something like that, which basically means I feel that it's in the realm of my possibilities. Yeah, sure, I'm asking them, but I'm definitely asking them from a place of, this is a possibility. And I could tell by their reaction that they didn't think it was ridiculous that I had asked this question. So much sweat. Well, but they hadn't actually, they probably had overlooked me because they were like, oh yeah, I'm not really sure. What are you thinking? Like, maybe. You know, one's the other, and the other one's like, oh yeah, maybe. Maybe. And they were like, well, and the other one's like, well, when's the next grade? And the other guy's like, oh, that's probably another 8 weeks. And they're like, you probably could. And I'm like, yeah. And then they're like, how about definitely next time, we'll leave it on this one, but yeah, you know, this is between the two of them with me standing there. Yeah, definitely ready for the next one. We'll leave it now for this one though. They said something like that, where it was just sort of like they had overlooked me, they hadn't considered me, maybe because I hadn't been there, maybe for whatever reason, maybe I'm one of the quiet guys in the class, in that particular class. Maybe I don't have a particularly good rapport, maybe I hadn't been there very long, but I had skills from past experience. Whatever reason, they hadn't really considered me. But when the question came to them, should this guy be considered, they realized, hey, maybe this guy should be considered. And because I did that, I was definitely put into the next grading. And so, you know, that wasn't just like submitting a resume. Often it's more like that, or it can be more like that, where something else that's not as obvious about putting your hat in, but a lot of these things are implied. A lot of these things are more how you refer to yourself, like how people, a certain sort of a confidence people want to see in you. That's a way of putting yourself forward. But the point is, you always have to put yourself forward. And yes, people abuse this, and they go around there, some people, and they put themselves forward for things that are totally ridiculous because they don't understand the balance. They realize it's very important to put themselves forward, but they don't realize that there is a balance there where you have to have some skills and abilities. And then there's the opposite side of the coin, which is people that, you know, the wallflowers that never put themselves forward and expect to be approached all the time. And often those guys, skill and ability wise, will be massively advanced before they're slightly promoted. So, you know, there's a balance there, but it's always those two steps. 1, get the skills and abilities. 2, put yourself forward. In that order, right? You have to do it in that order. And they're both essential steps that you need to be promoted. So today is the 4th of February, 2024. Thank you.